I almost put just a blank white sheet of paper behind me on both sides that just said like art here or something, just as a placeholder.
I hope you didn't do that. Well, Davis, I don't know about you, but I certainly enjoyed that conversation with Gabe. Full disclosure, I got a little uncomfortable there when you started talking about how handsome he is. Just for all of us, just to kind of put him on the spot like that. But nonetheless, I appreciate Gabe for joining us. It was a really good time.
Here's my thing. I'm glad that you went here because I've been thinking about this. In order to post our or not in order, but we posted on social media. We tried something a little different this week. We posted a silhouette and some fun facts. It was almost like trivia to guess who our guest was. And one of the bullets in there is that he's top 3 most handsome people we've had on the podcast, which is a reference to the conversation.
Right.
And I see some people in our mentions talking about how like they didn't like that. There's some straight male energy out there, Dunk, that I'm just not here for. Like what? I can't call a friend handsome. Like, what are we doing? I don't want to live in a world where I can't call my guy friends handsome. Gabe looked great. He had a good chain on, a great pea coat. And I think it's important that we celebrate that.
No, honestly, I do agree with you. Bold move, you now calling Gabe a friend of yours. I mean, we just went through one interview with him, but I respect the confidence in that regard. I do think it says something about, just the confidence that you have in yourself and to make that sort of comment, which I do appreciate. But honestly, it was a very, I enjoyed the conversation. Gabe and I, it's always interesting for me because, teammates with the guy, spend a lot of time around the guy, but then to have the opportunity to sit down in kind of a long form situation and ask him about things that, we might talk about in passing, where I might say like, hey man, or I might text him after that game he has against Team USA and say like, way to shoot it or whatever. We might go back and forth a little bit, but to actually have the opportunity to unpack it is pretty cool. So I definitely enjoyed that. And I'm also enjoying this new format that we have. So once again, I know we shouted out Blue Wire on the front end of this, but I'm just going to do it again. Shout out to Blue Wire once again. They're just coming to the table with all these new ideas and just trying to make the long shot pod better. And if you don't like that, then I don't know if we have a place for you in our community. We're all about self-improvement. We're all about getting better day in and day out, just continuing to show up. And I certainly appreciate everything they brought to the table.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. A couple things. First of all, once you come on the Long Shot podcast, you and I are friends for life. So Gabe is a friend. Secondly, it is strange that you guys are in a hotel together, but we do the interview virtually. We talk about that. Gabe is a guy we'll have back in person at some point. You guys were in the same building. I had a little FOMO. It felt like I should have been there. We could have done that in person, but save it for another time.
Huge missed opportunity. Davis keeps talking about whenever I'm like, hey, are you down to fly to DC to do this interview? Or are you down to come to Miami? He keeps saying that he has a child, which he does not have. He has a dog. And he claims that having a dog is the same responsibility level of having a child, which I think listen, I'm a huge dog guy. Love dogs. At one point in my life, I hope to have a dog of my own. I'm not at that stage. I'm not ready to commit to that just yet. But I just think it's a little bit disingenuous to go out on that limb and say that a dog to equate in a dog to a child. I just feel like there's some sort of cognitive dissonance there that I just don't think I certainly don't appreciate.
So a few things. One, it's Yahtzee. All right. Let's stop referring to my dog by dog.
True. First name basis. I'm on a first name basis with Yahtzee. I love Yahtzee. She's great.
Okay. Thank you. Secondly, I don't know if I've ever compared it directly to having a child. It's a tenth. That's actually probably too high. It's a 20th, a 100th of the responsibility, but it's still a responsibility for a life, Dunk. And so, it's just sometimes it's tough when it's, 10 a.m. on a Wednesday and you're asking me to get to Washington, D.C. by 6 p.m. It's just like that's not always feasible.
All right, but if we're going to say the responsibility to a life, there's a lot of different places that I could take this. I have plants in my backyard that I care for. I water every day.
Don't you dare compare
I
Yahtzee
make
to
sure.
plants.
See, this is exactly, but now you feel disrespected. This is the same way that I'm sure parents feel, real parents, not you, you're not a real parent, would feel if they said that you feel like your dog is the same responsibility level of a child. Anyways, we're off on a tangent. Full disclosure, I've been on the road here for about 13 days. This trip is winding down. I'm in New Orleans. I'm pretty excited to get a beignet at some point here. But hopefully, going to finish off the road trip strong. But it's been a grind. It's been one of the longer road trips. Not the longest. We've had actually two that have been longer than this, believe it or not. We've had this first half of the season has been a lot of road games and a lot of road trips, but it is what it is.
This is a great segue because speaking of fatigue, I wanted to ask you about a clip that went semi-viral of you this week. And it's you. It looks like you're playing freeze tag or something. You're just trying to shake Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in any way that you can. And it's you just sort of shuffling back and forth for like 10 to 15 seconds and then finally coming off a handoff or screen or something to get an open shot. And, this goes around on Twitter. Some people are giving you credit for how much movement you do off the ball. Other people are pointing out how much trouble you had getting open. So I'm curious which way you think it should fall there.
Oh man, it really just depends on your perception of me. Like, if you're kind of like a hater, you'll probably fall in the the camp of like, oh, he can't get open, like he can't shake KCP. Mind you, I'd like to point out that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was I believe all-state or maybe all-American track star in high school. So he's really fast. He's like really fast. I learned that when we matched up against the Lakers in the finals, and that was kind of who was guarding me. So we have a lot of familiarity. We've gone through a playoff series guarding each other. So, I know when we play the Wizards that he's in all likelihood going to be guarding me. It's a challenge to get up. I mean, he's a good defender. He's really good at the lock and trails and, bullying handoffs and blowing stuff up. Like he's good at that stuff. I think that was like one of the earlier possessions of the game. And, usually at that point, he's particularly locked in for kind of a set or a play. And that was just kind of in the flow of regular offense. But, to go back, I think if you were more on my bandwagon, maybe if you're a part of the long shot community, you would say, wow, look at all the effort and energy Duncan really puts into getting to his spots on the floor. And you would just have some level of respect for what I have to go through on a normal possession to get open. So wherever you fall on how you feel about me is likely where you fall on that spectrum as well.
Which is fair.
Where do you fall, Davis? I'm curious.
I am, like most things in my life, I'm Switzerland on this one. I'm sort of in the middle. There's a respect I have for the amount of ground you cover trying to get open and how much movement is required. At the same time, the stop and shimmy just feels like it could be a little quicker. And, I know something we're always striving to improve on. We're never satisfied. We're never settled. So like most things, I'm going to fall in the middle. I see both sides.
That's fair enough. I mean, that's pretty much a cop-out answer, but what I've come to expect from you, not confrontational in any sort of way, not making any sort of decision. It's pretty much par for course for you. I'd like to point out, you mentioned that the clip went semi-viral. I don't even know if maybe it did. It got picked up by some different accounts. The reasoning behind why it did. Okay. Chris Brickley is the one who posted it. For those that don't know Chris Brickley, he's a NBA trainer, is known for his like black ops basketball runs in the summer. He has a gym in New York City. A lot of guys obviously come through New York in the summer, and he trains some of the best players in the NBA. He works a lot with Jimmy right now, or has been this season. And as a result, he was sitting courtside at the game. What few people know about Chris Brickley is that he's from the great state of New Hampshire, the Granite State. He's from outside of the Manchester, the greater Manchester area. And I just kind of want to take this time to shout out New Hampshire because I'm obviously from New Hampshire. Davis, you've spent some time in New Hampshire. And I think it's pretty cool that Chris, being somebody who obviously loves the game and hasn't had an impact on the game at a very, very high level, has shown kids from New Hampshire, because there aren't a lot of professional athletes from New Hampshire. There aren't a lot of people in basketball higher up.
Don't disrespect Matt Bonner like that.
I would never. Matt's an absolute legend. Luke and Matt, both of them. Matt, in many ways, paved the way for other players behind him, myself included. Absolute legend. I have the pleasure of connecting with Matt at least once every offseason, going up to Great Concord, New Hampshire. But anyways, what I love about Chris and his story is that he has found a way to make it to a high level of basketball without playing. And he's giving kids a blueprint growing up in New Hampshire, for example, that, look, if you love the game, you want to be around the game, you might not have the opportunity to play it at the highest level. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't be at the highest level and still be impactful and still make a difference. And for that, I would just like to shout out Chris. And also, I'll also say that he is the reason why it goes viral, because kind of everything he touches tends to go viral. He has a lot of viral clips. He has a lot of clout. And I feel like that maybe has a negative connotation, but I don't mean it in this context. Maybe it doesn't, but I don't know.
Did you ask him pre-games, like, hey, record a possession of me where I'm really booking it? And then if you could, let's post that on Instagram. See if it gets picked up by the NBA official account.
I didn't do that. But we had a good conversation, and we got something in the works for the great state of New Hampshire this summer. Whoa. For the youth in New Hampshire, we're going to try to make something happen up that way. Not promising anything, but maybe teasing it just a little bit. But anyways, no, I did not ask him to do that. He did that on his own volition. Do
you want to provide any more context there, or are we just keeping it vague? Okay, I like it.
Keep it super vague. I'm big, mystery guy. Just kind of let that run. Let it take on a life of its own. I'm just going to leave it there.
Good. All right. I have one more question about you moving around, a serious one. Do you track your distance covered in a game?
No. I mean, the NBA has like second spectrum data, so I think it's public information. You can look it up if you so choose. I don't know where I stand. I mean, it's interesting because I'll have possessions that are like that, and then I'll have some where I just kind of am in the corner just being used as a spacer. So I don't know if I would be top tier. Like I'm sure I'm in that like upper third, but I can't imagine I'm like in the top 10 or anything, just out of like sheer usage numbers, because a lot of times I'm out of the action as well. But I'm sure you have the resources to look that up.
No, I don't care that much.
Okay.
Who's the staple of that? It's Steph. Like, is he the guy who moves the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think Steph combines usage with off-ball movement probably more than anybody. I'm sure he's up there. I actually remember reading, this was a while ago, but like Luol Deng was like led the NBA for like 5 straight years in miles covered. And I might have just made that up, but I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure that there's some truth to that Luol Deng was like number 1 year in and year out, which is interesting. Not necessarily somebody that you would think.
Can we get a fact check on that?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd prefer it if there was not a fact check, because I'm probably going to be wrong.
But that makes it way better.
Yeah.
This feels like a good opportunity actually to shout out Harry and Haley, who are on this call with us. And I don't know, maybe this is me abusing your guys' roles on this, but I would love a fact check at some point on if Luol Deng ever led the NBA in ground covered.
Feel free to just chime in whenever, unless the fact check goes against what I've said, then feel free to stay on mute.
If Duncan's wrong, don't say anything.
Yeah. What else do we got, Dave?
Do you want to talk trade deadline at all?
Sure, we can touch on it. What do you got?
All I wanted to get your take on is a couple long shot guests are on the move. And so I just wanted your take on, you don't need to get anything too juicy, but just your reaction to, Karras to the Cavs, Joe to Portland, Solomon to the Knicks. And then news just broke today that KZ is on his way to Oklahoma City.
Right. We have not had KZ on the long shot So I'm not.
Yeah, but he's a
quite
Heat
sure.
guy. Yeah.
He is a Heat guy and a good friend of mine. I'm happy for KZ. I think he'll get a lot of opportunity there, and KZ has a ton of potential and is a really, really good player. For him, a lot of it's just been about getting and staying healthy. So I hope he gets a lot of opportunity there. And if he does, I have zero doubt that he will for sure make the most of it. Karras to the Cavs is interesting. Within the Eastern Conference, obviously the Cavs are kind of making a push here to try to make something happen. I mean, adding another ball handler in their backcourt, somebody like Karras, somebody who can go get his own shot, particularly in playoff time, I think will be a difference maker. And he's also heading back to Ohio. An Ohio guy through and through. Pickerington Central, I believe, is where he attended. Shout out to PA. But it's not PA. It's I don't know. It's PC or PCA. I don't know.
Whatever.
Anyways, I'm happy for Karras. Reached out to him, and he seems excited about it. Joe to Portland is interesting. I imagine. I mean, he's on an expiring contract, so this is one, Dave, where I just would appreciate if you did a little bit more research. I imagine he's probably not even going to go to Portland.
You never know.
I imagine he's just going to continue to do his rehab and recovery with his family in Utah, and then be a free agent this summer is my expectation. Granted, I haven't reached out to Joe. I reached out to him after he went down with his injury, which is obviously disappointing to see. Solo as well. I don't think he ever went to New York. So once again, just wish you could just be a little bit more dialed in with these sorts of things, because I'm pretty sure he got traded and is now also doing rehab and recovery for his hamstring. So, but yeah, I mean, it's that time of year, right? By the time this show comes out, it will be trade deadline day, I believe. So I'm sure there's maybe more moves to be made. Who knows? We'll see. Seemingly every year my name is kind of in the whirlwind of it all. I'm not quite sure what that is or why that is, but it's part of the business. It really is.
Yeah. Well, it's the curse of, just everybody wanting you,
Exactly. But isn't that like, there is like, when you're able to look at the human side of that, and obviously, and I'm very much on the side of like, look, we get paid a lot of money and this comes with the territory, but like, imagine other professions if that were to exist. Like, you were to just get traded to, I mean, you live in fantasy land anyways, but imagine if like you were under risk of like being traded to another podcast, and like you didn't have the opportunity to select where you were living or who your coworkers were. Like, you just had to create chemistry with another host. I mean, our chemistry is earned. It goes way back. Imagine if you just had to start up a podcast with Will Arnett. I mean, he's a podcast guy. Like, what if you both got traded to the same team? That'd be wild.
Sure. It'd be a dynamic duo. Yeah, no, it's a fair point. I've always said this, especially when I was working in corporate America. I was very happy in Los Angeles. What if I got a call one day that I was getting shipped to Dayton, Ohio, and I had nothing to say about it? It is a very strange life. You get completely uprooted. So yeah, it's part of the business. I guess you've said this, you guys get compensated for, pretty fairly to deal with that. But yeah, especially, I mean, you don't have kids or anything, but if you have kids in school and to have friends and a family, that's, it's a lot. How often do guys get traded that you're aware of that their families just stay? Because it's like, at this point, we've laid our roots down here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of depends, right? I think in many cases, first off, if they have families, doesn't always mean this, but it usually means they're a little bit on the older end. If they have kids that are in school or whatever, a lot of times the family will stay for the remainder of that year. Because you got to think, I mean, the trade deadline is February every year, so that leaves 2 more months of the regular season. So usually families will stay. Usually players who get traded end up staying in hotels the remainder of the year, unless they're on like a longer contract and the plan is, they're like a centerpiece of a trade where the plan is they're going to get moved and this will be their new home. Then obviously you start to look for more long-term housing, I guess. But I mean, it's once again, it is tricky. I mean, it is always fascinating to me how like, and I understand it, but like to like entirely ignore the human element of the trade deadline, I think is a little bit misguided or a little bit just not having kind of like empathy for the entire situation. That doesn't mean you have to feel bad for people because they get moved or whatever, but like just be cognizant, just be aware. I think that's all that we ask, which I think is a pretty reasonable ask, I might add.
I think it's a very reasonable ask. All right. In theme of trade deadline, I have a couple trades that I want to ask you about and see if you'd be willing to take them. Okay.
Oh, I like this. Okay.
Ready?
I by the way, I have no idea where this is going. I mean, you could be talking about, I have no idea, but go ahead.
Okay, good. So it's going to be basketball themed, but it has nothing to do with cities or you actually being traded. The first one is, would you be willing to trade 2 inches of wingspan for 5 inches on your vertical?
Yes.
Without it, that was pretty quick. You wouldn't even, would you think about it?
Well, I mean, just from a straight like utility standpoint, that's 3 extra inches. Well, actually, it is 3 extra inches to work with. And that like you're losing 2 inches off your reach. And you're gaining 5 inches. Therefore, you're +3 is the math that I just came up on the spot.
Sure.
But I would, because I'm a little bit plus. I think I have like a 6'9.5", 6'10" wingspan. So like that would basically take me to even if I lost 2, and I would be like pretty like substantially more athletic. 5 inches on your vertical is like a big increase. That's a lot. So I would definitely take that, especially if you gave me 5 inches on my 2 foot vertical, because we've kind of discussed on this show before, I can't really jump off 2 feet. So if you can give me 5 on the 2, I can dunk off 2 feet. Don't do that. If you gave me 5 inches on my 2 foot vertical, taking that for sure. Yeah. What's the next one?
Wait, hold on. I got to be honest. I don't love that answer. That was like, you know how there's the argument about what role analytics should play in the NBA? Like that was, you purely just looked at the numbers there. Your justification was doing the math, and you get 3 inches when you jump off 2 feet. Like what? You don't think that 2 inches of your wingspan is important defensively when you're moving laterally, when you're not jumping?
No, I think it does. But I think like, if you're accounting for the entire picture, if I'm 5 more inches on my vert, that means I'm like also a little bit more explosive. I have like a little quicker twitch. Like I have all these sort of things that would improve.
I don't know if that's part of the deal. I think you're just going 5 inches higher.
Well, here is the deal. I'm taking the 5 inches. So like, let's just leave it at that. Like there's nothing else to be said. This isn't you answering the question. I'm the one answering the question. Buddy, you ask the questions, I answer them.
What? Okay, fine, fair. You know what? Fair.
We'll move on to the next one.
We'll move on to the next one. But yes, I do ask the questions and you give the answers, which is why when I ask about what you think to Solomon to the Knicks, like, yeah, maybe he doesn't play, but I just wanted your take on it. All right. I didn't appreciate the animosity there. All right. Second trade question. How about 2 inches of height? Would you trade 2 inches of height for 30 pounds of muscle, just straight muscle? I'm talking like you start looking like Desmond Bain.
So there's a couple caveats here.
Actually, how tall is Desmond Bain? Would you be exactly Desmond Bain? You might be.
No, he's like 6'4", 6'5" maybe. But my question is the height that the muscle that I'm adding, does it mess with any of the mechanics of my jump shot, this or that? So I do everything, I move the exact same, everything.
Correct. But you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror like Peter Parker. You're just a different person.
That's interesting. I would probably take the 30 pounds of muscle.
Wow. Okay.
I think I would. Yeah.
So you'd be
honestly, that's
6'3"?
like a little bit too much. Can I take like 20? Can I take 15?
No. The deal was 30 or your 2 inches of height.
All right. I'll take 2 inches of height. I'll be 6'9".
All right.
Cause then I'm also
6'9"
or 6'10". Sorry. I'll be 6'10". Cause then I'll also take, a little bit of length. Cause my wingspan's got to match. So I'll take a little bit more length, arms wise as well. And, I'll take that. That feels better.
I just want
What
to
about
be.
you? What do you for your sake as a podcaster?
Oh my God, this is so easy. The first one, I'm taking the vertical without a doubt, and the second one, I'm taking the muscle without a doubt. Like, it makes no difference whether I'm 6'2" or 6'4" or 6 feet or whatever.
Interesting.
Kidding me? Easy.
I think if I honestly think that if you were 6, because what, 2 inches, you'd be 6'4", right? 6'3". I think if you were 6'3", I could see you just having a totally different career trajectory. You know,
Really?
I think you would have been not as a podcaster, as a basketball player. Like, I think you would have like played like maybe mid-major. I could see you at like a Cornell,
I would have been an Ivy guy. Come on. Yeah, I would have been an Ivy guy.
That's low major. Cornell, maybe, or maybe like a Patriot League. I could see you in the Patriot League. It's a good league. Maybe an American. DC. I know you've always had an affinity for DC. I think that one would fit. And then we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd probably try to go play overseas for 2 years in Latvia or something like that. Anyways, what's the last? What's the next question?
Statue of me in Latvia.
Only one more of these. I'm running.
This is perfect because this is my last one. Okay. Would you trade your current house? You can live in any house in Miami that you want. No budget. Okay. Right. But we have to go through YouTube, and whoever left the last mean comment also lives there.
Oh dear.
You could get a place with 20 bedrooms. You'd never see them.
Do I have to stay in this house for a certain period of time? And
as long as you're in Miami,
can I sell the house at some point? And I no longer have to live with that person?
You can sell the house, but you only get whatever your current house is worth.
I'll stay where I'm at. Just because, listen, I am not one. Listen, I'm an all-inclusive person. I totally understand everybody has varying opinions. One thing I do not understand is the keyboard warrior mentality. Like, some of the things that are said on the internet, I'll just never be able to fully wrap my mind around. And it's just like, I honestly get a little like weary and concerned of like what that person might be going through, that they need to use that as an outlet to say those types of things. Actually, so maybe I'm going to flip my answer. I'm actually going to take the house. I'm going to live with the person that's saying the mean things, and I'm going to do what I can to try to improve their life and show them that saying these, disparaging comments on social media platforms, you're just better than that. You're above that. Because I think that the vast majority of the public population are. I really do.
Fine. No, I think that's.
So I'm taking the house.
That's fair. All right. I think that's the right answer. I don't disagree with that. Also, wait, Harry, it sounds like we have an answer to the Luol Deng question.
We do.
I love this.
So,
can you hit us with it?
So he didn't lead the league for 5 years, but he did lead the league for at least 1 year in 2012, and it seems to be the year they started counting the stats.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. Okay, you get credit. Good job. That was well done.
Unbelievable. So,
do we have a distance on that, Harry?
If you were a reasonable, rational person, you could also conclude that he probably led in all the years prior.
Well, we don't know that. No, we don't know that.
You do not know that either. They didn't track that data. How many miles was it?
2.7 a game.
It's good stuff, Luol. It's good stuff.
That's a lot of
I knew he led the league. That was good. I remember. I'm curious, Harry, did you get that from a Grantland article by chance?
I didn't. It looked like a Washington Post article, but it looked like a bunch of people were all reporting on the same kind of stats drop.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I think I have a vivid memory of reading that in a Grantland Zach Lowe article back in, I think that was maybe my high school days.
It really resonated with you.
Yeah, it really, Luol. I mean, I just remember his activity on the floor, 2.7 miles a game. It's pretty impressive stuff. Dave, beautiful. Do we have anything else before we let people go?
we told ourselves we were going to go for 20. I think we're already close to 30, so I think we can wrap it up. Do you want to hit a segment or a question of the week, or how you feeling?
Let's hit something. Let's do one of them.
We could do a question of the week. I've also lined up. Remember last year we did a stats stack up, You had to guess where your stats fell.
I love that. Let's save that. Let's do that next week.
Okay. Question of the week, Dunk. This comes from the Discord. Shout out to the Discord. Also, actually, this is a perfect opportunity to mention we are looking for moderators on the Discord. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This thing grew a little quicker than we anticipated. We've got like 1,200 people in there, and we're growing. So it's getting a little out of control. We have no idea what we're doing. So please, if you have experience in Discord, you're interested in moderating, please hit us up. You can hit us up on any of our socials or message me on Discord. We're going to start looking for people. But Dunk, this comes from the Discord.
Is there? Wait, hold on. Is there some sort of incentive there to be a moderator? Can we create an incentive?
Yeah, we'll discuss it.
All right.
We'll discuss it. We'll think about it. Yeah. It'll be something. Dunk, this comes from Davies. Davies on the Discord asks, it seems like most NBA guys have something they collect or get really into once they've been in the league a bit, which you have. Gabe referred to you as a veteran, so I think that you definitely fit this category. Watches, sneakers, wine, fashion seem to be the trends in the NBA. Is there anything you collect or want to get into?
It's a good question. I mean, those are some of the big ones. I'll start by saying this. I don't have like a passion yet. I dabble. Okay. So I because I'm kind of, obviously I've been in the circle. I've had different stretches and moments where I've been like, oh yeah, this is like, I've been really into watches. I have a nice watch, very rarely wear it. And I like watching. I look into watch, all that sort of stuff. I have obviously a lot of sneakers. I'm obviously not to the extent of a sneakerhead that PJ Tucker or somebody like that is. I don't really actively collect them anymore. I do think it's interesting. I used to be like a huge sneakerhead. I would like sit outside Foot Lockers and at 5 a.m. wait for them to open, do all that sort of thing. Actually, I'll never forget the military blue 4s. I drove an hour and a half to Massachusetts at 4:30 a.m. with my really good friend Tell White, now the head coach of the Emmanuel College Saints. Go Saints!
Shout out to
and we drove all the way there to get the military blue 4s, and they sold out very quickly, and we didn't get them. So that was a tough L. So ever since then, obviously, I've been a little bit discouraged. But I also think it's interesting. Like I used to really want sneakers. Now I have access to all those shoes, and I don't have that same passion. I just don't. One thing that I've noticed that I've started to collect, and this is kind of like a fake answer to your question, but it is an answer. One thing that I've noticed I've started to collect is that we stay at really nice hotels on the road, and every hotel that we go to, I usually end up taking a pen from the hotel. And I've noticed that some hotels have really nice pens. The Thompson Hotel in San Antonio, not like by any standards the best hotel that we stay at, but my goodness, they have really nice pens. They're like sleek. I really like sleek and like understated, right? It's like kind of like that muted matte black. And it's just like slim. I took like 3 of them. And I just kind of like, I realized that I've like kind of started to collect pens, which is kind of an interesting thing. I didn't necessarily know that I had an affinity for pens, but I like find myself just grabbing the pens and taking the pens. It's interesting, but that's kind of my answer is I've started to collect pens as well as like those other things as well. But yeah.
Is that theft? Like, are you just outing yourself on a public platform that you're stealing from hotels?
No, I think that like if I went to a front desk and I'd be like, hey, can I get a pen? I don't do that. I usually just grab them because they're in the room. But if I went to the front desk of a hotel, I was like, hey, can I grab a pen? They would give me the pen. And I don't think that they would expect that pen in return. Like that would be preposterous. I mean, like maybe they would expect me to leave it in the room, but then at that point, I just feel like, I don't know. I don't think that's theft. I think that's like totally within. There are certain things that when you pay for a hotel that are like totally within the realm of like what you're allowed to take, like the small soaps. I don't do that, but like the small soaps, the shampoos, the body, like all that stuff, I think is fair game. It's yours. Nobody else wants those like little things. Nobody wants your pens either. Well, maybe, but
I would say the verdict's still out. A second question. Do you think your taste in pens says something about how we can start to lean into your fashion a little bit? You said you liked muted, sleek, the matte black. I think there's opportunity here to start. Maybe can we build this into your wardrobe somehow?
No, I mean, look, you've kind of been on my head about the fashion thing, and obviously we talked about it with Gabe. I can dress, and I can dress well. Honestly, like so much of it, like, and I know what my lane is. Like I'm an earth tones kind of like, understated comfort, but like upscale comfort. That's like that's where I exist. And that's where I really thrive. It really just comes from, I don't want to say it's not laziness. It's more just like convenience. I actually like, so much of what I wear on a day-to-day basis is based around convenience. If it's within a radius in which I can see it, I can touch it, it's probably, and it's clean, obviously, I'm probably going to wear it. So that's where a lot of my decision making is made. It's just like a convenience thing. Like, if you want me to show out, I can show. If you want, we can have a stretch of games or whatever where I really show out, and I'll do it, and I'll put everybody on notice if you want.
There is legitimately very few things that I want more. Legitimately.
All right.
So we'll pick a week, maybe a string of home games where you can really get into your bag.
We got a lot of home games in March.
The whole month, basically. Okay, sure. I'm holding you to it.
All right. Well, this was good. We've been talking for probably a lot longer than we should have. I really enjoyed our conversation with Gabe. I hope you did too. And be on the lookout for another episode of The Long Shot next week. Always a pleasure, Davis. Always a pleasure.
Likewise.